Welcome to Bonesaw Poker. I am Brad, and in this video, we're going to discuss focusing on our opponents. Watch what they are doing. This is a huge difference between online and live poker. If you haven't played live poker yet, let's get some basic mechanics of the game out of the way. I'm going to use a Tampa Hard Rock as the example since this is where I play the most. The reason we need to discuss this is that when you first start out at live poker, you need to play in flow and keep track of a few things. When you first get there, go up to the brush. The brush are the employees who put you on a wait list, assign you a table. They're the chip runners, and they're the ones that help you with table changes. They will either put you on a table or on a wait list when you first get there. While you're on the wait list, you can go to the cashier and get your chips. Some card rooms require that you get your initial buy-in at the cashier and then can add on at the table. If you get there and the brush tells you to go to a table, then go there and get your seat and tell the dealer that you're going to go get your chips. If you have a player's card, then set that down now. Once you get your chips, decide if you want to pocket some of them for topping off. I usually get 400 in chips, 200 in red, that's the $5 chips, and 200 in green, $25 chips. I put the green in my backpack for topping off. Don't worry about getting smaller chips for the blinds. The dealer will make change for you. When it's your turn to be the big blind and you only have red chips, just put a red chip out there and the dealer will make change for you when she gets to you. One thing I see when new players sit down at the table is that they won't put their chips up far enough when posting blinds or playing in a hand. Put your chips up across the line or at least close to it. Play in flow. Make sure that you don't act out of turn pre-flop and don't telegraph what you will do. You can look at your cards anytime you want to. Wait until it's your turn and then make your action. Keep track of how many players are in the pot and how much the pot is. Roughly. Don't worry about being exact. This is when you figure out SPR, and link for SPR in the description below. When the flop rolls out, look to see when you act and then act in turn. Don't telegraph what you will do. If you raise someone, then the raise needs to be at least double the size. I know that's not 100% accurate, but it's good enough for now. The next step. We need to play a bunch and get used to the mechanics of the game so you can move to the next step. This is where the mechanics are just automatic and we can now focus on the players. Most players are hard to get a read on in 1-2. They are there to have fun and splash around. They don't really do anything different if they have a good or bad hand. But when you are up against players that have tells, then you are getting valuable information. Connection is looking at each player at the table. We need to be present in the game as much as possible. Try to keep the distractions to a minimum and really focus on what's going on. When you are not in hand, this is a good time to watch the players who are and see what is happening. Look at facial expressions and body language and compare that to the action. Each time a hand makes it to showdown, you know now what they have and compare that to what happened. Anytime you pick up accurate information, you are winning the reciprocality game. Reciprocality. This is a concept that I learned from Tommy Angelo. If you have watched much of my channel, you know that I reference Tommy a fair amount. Here are some of his places to get information. You got TommyAngelo.com, Elements of Poker, which is a book he wrote, and Poker Simple on YouTube. He offers coaching online with Zoom. I have done one coaching session with him, and it was very helpful. Reciprocality from Elements of Poker. In the world of reciprocality, it's not what you do that matters most, and it's not what they do. It's both. Reciprocality is any difference between you and your opponents that affects your bottom line. There are many types of reciprocality. Anything that you do better than the player pool is a positive for you. Playing good ranges pre-flop. If you play smart pre-flop and the player pool is way too loose, then you have an edge. Sober. If you're sober and they are not, you have an advantage. You spend time working on your game and they do not. You're ahead. Focus. Watching and learning the information that they unintentionally give you while not giving information is a huge advantage. There are many more. The more good things you do than the player pool, the more edge you have. Tells. There are books and videos on tells. I have a video on it. I'll put the link in the description. These can be useful. But what they all end up discussing is energy. Interested, not interested. If you're keeping an eye on your opponents and watch their energy level after you have folded, you might be able to pick up good info. So this is when you're watching them in pots that you're not in, you're looking for just their energy level. They're interested, not interested. Are they sitting up? Are they attentive? Do they put their chips in a certain way? You're just looking for differences. And then when they're in pots that they end up folding, let's say the flop rolls out and they just kind of look deflated or uninterested. And you notice that once money goes in that they're just letting their hand go. Now that's a good information to know when you get in a pot with them and look for that same information. And it's not the twisting of an Oreo. It's not scratching their nose, but it's just an overall demeanor. Is their energy level up? Are they focused? Are they attentive? Or do they look deflated? And is their energy level low? And that's why connection is important. To make a connection with each player, from the minute you sit down, you start working on that. So that way, when you get in a pot with them, the flop rolls out, you bet, and you can already tell what their intentions are going to be. It makes a huge difference. Again, some players, there's not going to be any energy level difference. But anytime that you can pick this up, it's a big advantage. So, of course, players try to give reverse tells, but you should be able to suss that out after a while. And that's from Rounders. If you remember the movie Rounders, the scene where Matt Damon is narrating when the recreationals keep sitting down at their table and getting cleaned out. You know, anytime they're weak, they're trying to look strong and vice versa. But if you're really watching your players and making a connection with them, you should be able to figure that out after a while. Now, when you first sit down, maybe play a little extra tight for the first orbit or two to connect with the players, where maybe you don't want to get into a bunch of hands right off the bat until you can kind of get a feel for who's doing what. Now, if you get a big hand, play it, of course, but literally keep these words in mind when you sit down. Connection, energy, interested, not interested. Keep these in the front of your mind that you want to work on these as you're playing. Now, some players say to play the player and poker math as secondary. I think they both matter. But to sit there on your phone or watching the game on TV, it's a mistake. I've found that working on this aspect of the game makes the session more enjoyable. Really give this a try on your next trip to the card room. It adds another layer to the game. Even if it didn't help much in a particular session, the challenge of doing this will improve your game, and the time sure flies by. I hope this video was helpful. Jump into the comment section and let me know what you think. For Bonesaw Poker, I'm Brad. Thanks for watching, and remember, everything you want is on the other side of fear.